Hey, what's up? It's Symphony here. Subscribe to my brother Mr. Creepy as Hell channel, and when you're watching his videos, make sure you stay in one piece.
I really don't know who I am anymore. I really don't know who I can trust. You really think you know someone all those years until you discover something so terrifying it makes you look at that person a whole new way. You don't even recognize that person once you figure out something terrifying that they done that makes you feel different about them, makes you feel disgusted with them. That's what happened to me. This happened 17 years ago. I was living with my parents at the time. I was living at a town that was populated with about 30,000 people. I'm not going to name the area for privacy reasons, but it's a pretty well-known area. But anyway, during that time, kids and infants would go missing. There was a report about 500 children and infants going missing. Parents were worried and couldn't find their kids anywhere. During that time, my parents were very protective of me, and they made sure that I didn't go anywhere alone. They wouldn't even let me go up to the store by myself out of fear something would happen to me. As days and weeks went by, more children went missing, and it was starting to become worrisome to a lot of people. Parents who still had their kids with them, they took extra precaution to make sure they were safe. That's when things started to get a little bit more strange. I started to get suspicious of my parents when every time they would have a conversation, but when I would come into the same room they were in, they would suddenly stop talking and smile at me like they were guilty of something. I couldn't really tell what it was, but one day when I was coming back from school on the school bus, I quietly came home and I overheard my parents talking. I overheard their conversation just a little bit. Look, I understand you want to say something, but we can't let him know, because if he knows, there's no telling how he's going to react. And not to mention, all the townspeople are going to get upset and they're going to blame us. It'll be a huge problem. I understand you feel guilty, but let's think about this before you go off and tell him this. Okay, I understand, but do you think the hypnosis worked on him? Do you think he remembers anything? It seemed like it worked. He doesn't remember anything. Okay, I'm just scared because what if it happens again? I don't know how we're going to handle him. Right before my father could reply to my mother, I came in the living room where they were at and I greeted them. Hi, Mom, Dad. What do you mean about how to handle me? Is everything all right? I asked my parents. When I asked them that question, they both looked at each other with wide eyes, the color almost draining from them. And then my father said, don't worry, son, we weren't talking about you. We were talking about someone else. Yeah, I'm sorry if we scared you, son, my mother added. After they got done talking to me, I went into my room and I closed the door. I started to get a little suspicious of them. I don't know why, but something seemed off about their behavior. And it was like that for the next couple of days. On a Saturday afternoon, I was outside in our family backyard playing football with my friend. That's when a neighbor of mine saw us playing and asked us if we wanted some lemonade. Now, during the time we were playing football, me and my friend, it was pretty humid and warm outside. And usually my parents don't like me going over to strangers' house, or at least going anywhere without letting them know, especially since the stuff that was going on in our town, kids disappearing and not turning up anywhere. But since it was the neighbor and I'd known him since I was a kid and my parents know him very well, so I made the decision to go over there to get some lemonade because it was pretty hot and I was thirsty. My friend followed along. As we talked with him, he was asking us questions, strange questions. So, kids, what do you think about all those kids disappearing? And do you think maybe there's someone here in this town that's doing it? Like, do you actually think there's someone out here that's kidnapping the kids across this town and maybe holding them hostage inside their houses or inside their basements? Hey, sir, thank you for the lemonade, but me and my friend, we need to go. We don't want his parents getting upset with us, my friend said while grabbing my hands, exiting out of my neighbor's door. What the hell was that for? I scoffed it at my friend. The reason why I done that because that guy is acting very weird. He gave me the creeps, and something about him seems off. I know he's your neighbor, but have you ever maybe wondered that maybe he could be responsible for those kids' disappearance? I mean, this isn't the first time he kept on talking about it. This is like the third or fourth time he's mentioning about those kids going missing. I have other friends who have ran into him, and they said the same thing to me, that he would talk to them about those kids disappearing, and he would go into random details that seemed kind of off, my friend explained. I replied to him by saying, so him showing compassion makes him a suspect because he's concerned about those kids and wanting them to be safe and hoping nothing happens to them? What is wrong with you? I've known him for a while. He's a good guy. Stop all this, okay? You're not Sherlock Holmes. Let the police do their jobs and find the actual person responsible for these kids' disappearance. He is responsible, and I'm not going to let no one, and not even you, stop me. I'm going to report him. And also, come to think of it, your parents seem to be buddies with him a whole lot more recently. I suspect your parents are probably involved in it as well. And matter of fact, your parents probably know more about what's going on. They probably know that your neighbor probably had something to do with those kids' disappearance, and they're probably helping him cover it up and protecting him and not saying anything. And you probably know something too, and that's probably why you're trying to protect him. It's all making sense. I'm gonna let the authorities know about everything, about what I discovered. First of all, you need to get my parents' name out your mouth. They had nothing to do with this. I can't believe I'm actually sitting up here and letting you accuse my parents of causing these kids to go missing. They had nothing to do with it. Stop lying on my parents and stop lying on my neighbor, I said to my friend, upset about his accusations, especially him accusing my parents of having anything to do with the kids going missing in our town. Too late. I'm already running back home, and I'm gonna let my mother know, and we're calling the authorities. I guess you're gonna end up being homeless. Probably gonna put you in the foster care system. Good luck. And suddenly, I felt this rage building up inside of me. It was really strong. I couldn't control it. Before my friend could walk off, I grabbed a large rock, and I hit him on the head extremely hard. I kept hitting him with the rock as blood was splattering out on the sidewalk. I was angry. The fact that he would accuse my neighbor and my parents of doing something so horrible. I couldn't stop. The rage was taking over me. I kept hitting him and hitting him and hitting him until finally I felt some hands stopping me. I turned around. It was my parents. My dad was holding my hands back, and my mother was crying. Oh my God. I thought you said our son wasn't going to kill anymore, that your hypnosis would help him. He's done it again. It usually works. I don't know what's going on. Look, we can't sit around here and worry. We gotta move his body somewhere so they won't know that our son is the one going around making these kids disappear by killing them. After that, my mother stopped panicking and she helped my father bury the boy's body. I looked as shocked and I was horrified and came to realize that the reason why the kids around this town was disappearing was not because of what everyone else thought. It was because of me. I've been killing them. I murdered all of them. And my father has been helping me forget about them. I felt really guilty. I wanted to turn myself in, but my parents wouldn't let me. It got so bad that my parents locked me inside of a basement and wouldn't let me say anything. Eventually, my father came in and done hypnosis, and it made me forget for a really long time. It made me forget about it for the last 20 years until recently, when an anniversary of the death of my friend came up, and how the parents were sad and heartbroken that he was gone. They said he would have been 32 had he still been alive. They were pleading with people, if they knew anything about his murder, to come forward. And now that my parents are gone and I live by myself, I decided to come clean. I'm making my way to the police station where I'm going to confess as I'm writing this to you guys. Like I said before, sometimes you may know someone for a very long time, but then when you find out who they really are, it starts to disgust you. It really makes you reestablish on that person's identity and who you thought this person that you know was. I'm referring to myself. I thought I knew myself. I'm disgusted with myself to find out who I really am. I'm a murderer. And I'm gonna turn myself in. And I'll make sure I get the full extent of the punishment from the law.